It's theairnetwork.net with Greg Banks in the studio. And on the line with us, Dustin Everhart, former Bearcat wrestler who happens to be at the district duels today at Tyrone Area High School. Dustin, how you doing? You're a former Bearcat, so I guess it's kind of an exciting time for you as well, huh?
It's always an exciting time when you're here. Wrestling's in the air. It's just that time of year here.
Exactly. Now, you had some notoriety when you wrestled for Huntington High School. Were you a district wrestler? Were you a state placer? What happened in your career, and when was that career?
Well, I actually graduated in 2011, so I was part of the first District 6 dual championship team in 2011, and we actually set the record for 23 wins in a season. We went undefeated, and we made our first appearance down at the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's right.
So I got to start at 215 pounds for them, and that was quite an experience. And both my older brothers, they were both bigger guys, and they were before me, so it just kind of runs in the family.
I was going to say it runs in the family for the Everhart family from the Huntington area. Dustin, by the way, live at Tyrone High School this afternoon. The semifinals have just wrapped up. We're heading into the finals. Tell us a little bit about the teams involved in the semifinals, and then we'll go from there, Dustin. What teams showed up today for the district duels?
All right, so on the other side of the bracket, we had Central Martinsburg High School Scarlet Dragons taking on the Moshannon Valley Black Knights.
Mm-hmm.
It started off, it looked like it was going to be a close one, but Moshannon Valley just they had the better of them. A lot of the matchups. There was one big matchup at 160 pounds between Brock Biddle and Larry Brown. They're both state-ranked guys, and it actually it came down, and Biddle decisioned him 4-2, and Brown is actually the higher ranked individual there, so that was a big upset, and it looked like the things were going to start swinging for Central at that point. That was about the midpoint since they started at 126, but Mo Valley just they had the fuller lineup. They held on. They got the bonus points when they needed it, and they minimized the opposing bonus points on that side. So
right.
They ended up pulling away and taking the win 42-22, so they'll advance to the final.
Okay.
And then on our side of the bracket, we took on the Huntington Bearcats, obviously, took on Penns Valley, the Rams. And we jumped out to a really quick start. We were aggressive on our feet. They actually sent out Benson first and sent out Wagner at 126 pounds. Got a big major decision over Royer from Penns Valley, who in the dual meet, he actually pinned Jacob Wagner, so that was a big turn. And then Wagner came out right after that, got a big 5-0 decision, and then, Tyler Scott held on for a decision. And you could tell even after that, when we had our losses through the middle there at 145-52, our kids were wrestling really strong, really aggressive. They were pressing the action. You could tell Penn Valley was working the edge of the mat a lot better than we were. And
right.
There were times it came down to those 1 or 2 points, but those kids, Schaefer, Bailey, right through there, they hung tough. They kept the momentum on our side. And then obviously our powerhouses, 160, up through when you get to Oliver, who made quick work in the first period.
Right.
The bigger kids, we really minimized the bonus points, which was big for us. I know in the dual meet we had a lot of pins. There were a few forfeits there, but I know that the kids they wrestled really smart. They didn't get in any bad positions, and when they did, they got their hips down. They stayed flat, and they didn't give up. The near fall, the bonus, and that really was the deciding factor, and we held on to win 40-26.
Oh, fantastic. That was against the Penns Valley Rams. And meanwhile, you said the other showcase was Central Scarlet Dragons being beaten by Moshannon Valley this morning. So the matchup has been set for the finals with Mo Valley and Huntington coming up afternoon today. Let me ask you this. Have those two teams, obviously the individuals have seen each other maybe at tournaments, but these two teams, have they wrestled this season? And what do you think, Dustin?
They haven't wrestled this season yet, and I've been doing a lot of work looking at teams that they've wrestled, similar teams. And and the one that I came to, we both wrestled Mount Union. Mount Union, they're struggling with kids right now. But from the looks of it, the matchups are it's gonna be quite interesting. It's gonna come down to who gets the initial toss and who gets to send out at the weight classes that they want.
Right.
Because I know we have a lot of kids, running through the middle there. So playing our matchups is really going to be big against this lineup when you have tough kids through the middle and John Dale Larry Brown.
Right.
You know.
And obviously with Jake Oliver and John Wagner and those guys, of course, hopefully they'll come through for the Bearcats. Having said that, Dustin Everhart on the line with us live at Tyrone High School today for the district duels. Huntington, of course, taking on Moshannon Valley. That will be in the finals this afternoon. We'll have another report. Let me ask you this, Coach John Mikett, man, he was your coach. He's been there for a long time. Of course, you guys gave some kudos to Coach Elwood Reese, who started that program way back in the 60s after you won the district duels during your career. And I just wanted to mention that Huntington's kind of loaded this year. Do you see us really going far into the states this year, Dustin? And who would know better than perhaps you?
You know, we got a lot of kids, and that definitely plays to our advantage. I know going down to that tournament, if you do not have a lot of kids, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. I mean, those teams, when they start narrowing it down to the best in the state,
right,
they're not kidding with those kids. So,
yeah,
you know, I do believe that we have the potential to take it far. I mean, we have a strong. We get things going in the lighter weights. We have a strong backing there. The middle weights are our powerhouse. It's just small mistakes that are gonna make the difference. But with the kids that we have and the coach that we have, I mean, Coach Mike he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's determined. He knows how to get the kids all onto the championship.
Right. So these guys
task and get them in that mode.
So these kids are really primed. And I think what I really wanted to ask you was, there are some schools that are down in numbers with wrestling. Mount Union was one. I think Tyrone, somebody told me, was down this year in terms of the number of kids coming out on the mat. Is there a reason for that, Dustin? Because I know, we didn't compete with other sports back in the day in the 70s and the 80s. But it seems like maybe they have other competition, like maybe not indoor soccer, but let's say basketball, maybe swimming. Is that why those numbers are down at some of those other schools? Or just the desire is not there any longer?
A lot of people think that the other sports really take away from the numbers. I know growing up, we never really had issues with, numbers growing up, just because basketball had such a good backing, the wrestling program had such a good backing. I think it just starts at that youth level. And I remember, when I first started, I was 5, 6 years old. My older brothers were in the wrestling room.
Junior Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, you go into tournaments on Saturdays, you're getting the whole family involved, and sometimes it seems like that little bit of wrestling is slowly being lost. The youth program. I know there is good youth programs out there, but some of these other schools around Huntington, I feel like they don't have that youth backing that we used to have. I know in the 90s and the early 2000s, we had a really good youth program.
Well, I remember the JOs even back in the 60s and 70s, man, and what a thrill that was to compete against other kids from around the state of Pennsylvania. Of course, we always had our big soiree, if you will, in Greensburg. Is that where the championship was at that time? And then at the Jaffa Mosque and the Cambria County War Memorial. So that's always a delight to see these young kids. And you, as you mentioned and alluded to, it's a tradition. Perhaps our grandparents were wrestlers, and then, of course, the grandchildren now are wrestling. So when I go to these matches, I see some of the old heads from the 70s. They've got great-grandchildren now wrestling. They're 4 or 5 years old. So Huntington, I tell you what, we're lucky. We are still steeped in the tradition of great wrestling. And at the helm, of course, is Coach John Mikett. So, Dustin, I appreciate the report, man. Is there anything you want to add? Otherwise, we'll talk to you, I guess, after the finals between Moshannon Valley and Huntington. We just hope the best for the Huntington Bearcats this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Mikett, he definitely has his hands full with the Moshannon Valley Black Knights here. But I think if he's, he works his matchups, like I said, and he gets those kids in that aggressive mindset like they came out and they did in the semis. I don't think he'll have much of a problem, pulling this one away and getting his way back to Hershey again.
And sometimes it does come down to the best strategist wins the match, and the coach is very good at sizing up the competition to put the right guy out there, right?
Oh, yeah, and Coach Mikett, he's a mathematical genius, so when it comes to that, I wouldn't trust my faith in anyone else except Coach Mikett. He's, a state coach of the year a few years back. He's a great guy. He's
exactly
smart. He's very good.
Exactly. Dustin Everhart, hey, thank you, man, for reporting from Tyrone. Of course, district duels underway. I understand also, Dustin, that Altoona is the site of district duels. Now, is that a different class up there than Huntington and Tyrone? Is that a different class or division or something?
Well, what they'll do is they'll do the individual championships at the Altoona High School. It's a little bigger. It holds a little bit more people, especially for the individual tournament.
Okay.
So they do the individual district tournament. I believe that's around February 18th, somewhere in there, that
Right.
Saturday, that Friday, Saturday. They'll do that in Altoona. But they do the team duels. They've kept that here at Tyrone since I've been in school. So I believe the AAA come in later after they clear the gym out. Around 4 o'clock, they'll wrap theirs up then.
Right. Hey, well, best of luck to the Cats. And thank you, Dustin, for helping us out, man. I don't know what we'd do without you today. We'll put this on our, of course, website so folks can tune in and find out more about the wrestling Cats, as I call them, the Matt Cats from Huntington, huh? Which we will, at one time in our lives, Matt Cats, if you will. Otherwise, you were a pumpkin pusher. That's what we used to call them back in the day. Hey, thank you, Dustin.
Yep, you have a good one.